My dad blamed my baby sister for our mom's death. I was 16 when Ellie was born, and I never could have imagined how much my life would change in an instant. Mom didn't make it through the delivery. They had to do an emergency C-section, but it was too late. The doctor said they tried everything they could. But my dad, he looked at this tiny, perfect baby, covered in vernix and so fragile, and saw a murderer. He wouldn't hold her, wouldn't even acknowledge her name. He just stared at the wall like she didn't exist while mom's blood was still on the floor of the delivery room. The nurses kept asking if he wanted to cut the umbilical cord, or hold his daughter, or do skin-to-skin contact. He just shook his head, walked out of the room, and left me there with this screaming newborn who didn't even know that. She'd just lost the one parent who actually wanted her. I was still in my school uniform, the same one I wore that morning when everything went wrong. So at 16, I became a mother overnight. I learned how to mix formula at 2 a.m., figured out how to change diapers without gagging, and mastered the art of burping a baby while trying to finish my homework. I changed every diaper. I did every 3 a.m. feeding while Dad sat in the living room drinking himself stupid, with Mom's picture turned face down on the mantle. Ellie's first word was mama, but she was looking right at me with those big, brown eyes that looked exactly like Mom's. By the time Ellie could walk, she'd learned to tiptoe around the house in her tiny socks. By age 3, she'd perfected the art of disappearing whenever Dad's old, rusted truck pulled into the driveway. The engine sputtering like it was dying, she'd whisper, "Is the angry man here?" and run to hide behind my legs like I was her shield. And every time my heart shattered into a million pieces. Dad started bringing dates over when Ellie was 4, calling himself a single father of one who tragically lost his wife. He'd ignore the toys scattered on the floor, the tiny shoes left behind, and the confused looks women gave him when they asked about the other kid. Ellie just sat there, silent, as he erased her from the story. The breaking point came when Ellie was 5. She drew a family picture at school. Me, her, our dog Max, and a smiling son who she imagined we had. When her teacher asked where Daddy was, Ellie tilted her head and said, "I don't have one of those. I just have my sister Mama." That night, Dad found the drawing magneted to the fridge. He cornered me in the kitchen, his breath smelling of whiskey, and he was furious. "Why doesn't she draw me?" He spat, "I'm her father." I put a roof over her head. I looked him in the eye, dead serious, and said, "Because fathers don't spend 5 years pretending their kids don't exist. You've never read her a bedtime story, never. Kissed a scraped knee, never even said her name out loud." His face turned red. "She killed my wife," he muttered under his breath like it was her fault. "No, Dad," I said, my voice shaking with the weight of everything I'd been carrying for years. "She was a baby who needed her father, but instead got a stranger who hates her for breathing." He raised his hand like he was going to hit me, but froze when he saw Ellie standing at the bottom of the stairs. She wasn't scared anymore. No, this time she looked at him, not with fear, but with disappointment, like she'd finally figured out what the rest of us already knew. Dad's hand dropped and he stood there, staring at Ellie. I saw something flicker in his eyes, maybe regret, maybe guilt, but it was gone before it had a chance to settle. That weekend, he packed his bags and said he was starting fresh with his new girlfriend, Jennifer. He was moving 2 states away, and didn't even bother to say goodbye to Ellie. Ellie didn't react. She just shrugged when I told her, then asked if we could have pizza for dinner because the angry man won't be here to complain about the smell. I worked 3 jobs to keep us afloat. Waitressing at the diner, cleaning offices at night, babysitting on weekends. Ellie learned how to do her homework at the diner, coloring quietly in a corner booth while I served coffee to truckers. I pretended my back didn't ache from carrying her everywhere. Physically, emotionally, always holding us together. She never complained. She never asked why other kids had dads who came to school plays and soccer, games and parent-teacher conferences. When Ellie turned 10, she stopped asking when Dad would visit for her birthday. When she turned 12, she stopped mentioning him at all. And when she turned 16, the same age I was when I became her mom, she hugged me tight and whispered, "Thank you for choosing me," when he wouldn't. Last week, Ellie graduated as valedictorian. Her speech made the entire auditorium cry. She thanked me, her sister who raised her, who chose to be her parent when someone else chose to walk away. Dad wasn't there to hear it. According to Facebook, he was at a barbecue with Jennifer's kids, playing the devoted stepfather. He never was to Ellie, but Ellie didn't even notice the empty seat where he should have been. She only had eyes for me.